Alright guys, so here's the wine chiller I picked up for an incubator. This is a very large wine chiller. It is one that goes inside your wall or cabinets. It's kind of like you can do a set of them. So this is like a $2,500 wine chiller. So it's over 6 foot tall. Once I take that condenser out, that'll give me enough room for a couple more. I think 4 more tubs can fit on that top shelf then. It's pretty deep. It's about 2.5 foot deep, so I should be able to fit 4 tubs on each rack. Obviously they're way too close together here. At least a couple seasons before I need to upgrade to something bigger or another one. So, alright, so I'm going to tear that out. It'll be just a second for you guys, but a little longer for me. We'll tear that out and I'll show you what it's like with that not in there. Alright guys, so here it is with the condenser out. As you can see, it leaves a pretty nice hole in the back of it. I did leave the light in. Here's the power cord to it. Should reach to the back. I gotta run a fan in here to make sure the air is circulated and keeps it so there's not hot, warm, stagnant air at the top and cold at the bottom. This is just a really nice plastic coating over the wood. It's just particle board, but because this is a wine chiller, they assume with the coldness there's going to be moisture in the air and coated it, so it makes it really nice. So now I'm going to measure my styrofoam, get it cut and placed in there. I'll show you what it looks like with that, and then I can just do my wires through from that. I'm just going to mount my fan up here on the top. I'll pull all the shelves out, get ready to do the heat tape, and I'll actually record us putting all that stuff in so you can see it. I may actually move it up to the snake room, which is upstairs, before I do all that, now that it's lighter. Alright, we'll see you in a few minutes. Alright, so this is the stuff that I'll use. It even says DIY craft projects panel on it. This is the 4 foot by 8 foot pieces that I get. This one's already been used for some things, but this outer square or rectangle is what I'll be cutting. The inner one was the actual size of the hole with this pressed up against it, and then I just measured and added the difference. It was easier to do it that way than try to figure it all out at once. So to cut this, I just use like a soldering gun or a soldering tool. I have like 3 of them, but I also have a Crafts and Arts like wood burning one that has an adjustable temperature on it, so you can turn it up pretty hot and use that. They're at Walmart for like 10 bucks. Or you can buy the whole kit with all kinds of tips and other things with them for like 20 bucks. You can also go to hotfoam.com and they sell tools that you can use for cutting foam. They do like a steel rod, wire, so you can cut all kinds of shapes and designs and things like that in it. I also have one of those. I was using it for building 3D backgrounds for fish tanks. Alright, let's get it out of the sun so you can see it better. As you can see, I cut it a little bigger than my lines, not a whole lot. Now this top one, the inside line is actually, and that inside line is actually the measurement of this being placed into the hole or behind the hole and marking it with the Sharpie, and then it needed to be bigger on both ends, and top and bottom, but I just added it to the top and to the one side, and then I cut the outside line. Alright, so you can see it's a nice snug tight fit on the edges. My corners I gotta fill in with a little silicone. This edge you can kind of see light shining through, so it'll get a little silicone on the edge. So I'll probably just silicone the whole inside edge and the corners just to get it sealed, and we'll go from there. Alright, so we're going to finish building this incubator. I did want to point out one thing. It has a key lock right here. It doesn't have the key with it. You can see that, hopefully you can see. It's got the little lock there. So it's got the lock here. And the keyhole there, obviously I showed that to you. And then on the inside, right here, there's a little groove built into it. I do not have the key to this, unfortunately. The positive side to that is you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot and pick one up for, they're about $5 to replace it. This thing is not that old. It's built for, it's kind of sideways, so it says doors are pre-tested inward to ensure tight fit at all corners during high humidity periods. So this will keep a very good humidity. It's got a nice rubber seal. I know that's not the best camera angle in here today. Got the sun coming through my windows. Camera doesn't like to auto adjust very quick. So rubber seal. Then it has a double pane. This is plexiglass or acrylic, sealed on the inside, and has a trim all the way around it. Very well built wine chiller. So I put my fan in the top here. It does hang down about as far as the condenser did. So I'll still be able to do 7 racks, just not as high up. The bottom, dirty right now, but I'll be able to run my heat tape all the way down and then out to the door, so I can put water at the bottom, keep the humidity up, so the water will sit in a container right on top of the heat and evaporate into this wine chiller, or we're going to call it an incubator because that's what it's going to be when I'm all done. The reason I did most of the work ripping out the condenser, installing the fan, cutting the styrofoam, is because most people aren't going to buy this type of setup for their incubators. This one, there's the website for it. If you want to look them up and see how much they are brand new, you'll see what I mean by this is about a $2,000 wine chiller. If I remember correctly, it holds like 100 or 100 and something bottles of wine. It's just crazy how much it holds. So we'll go around the side here, where they have a scotch or the masking tape to hold the back trim on. Took the cherry wood veneer cover off in spots. I'm going to paint the sides black. We'll just do a satin black, and I'll leave the front the cherry wood. I think it looks good like that. Excuse the mess, I kind of had to make room to do this in my snake room. So I have a chair over there full of tools. But we're getting there. So the styrofoam's on the top. I will use these thermostats. I use them actually for my racks as well. It works just like any other one. It's like a 2 degrees difference. So I'm going to use it for my incubator as well. But I like to be able to visually see them, so I will make it so it's mounted up top here, so I can see it at all times. So the heat tape will plug into the bottom of this. This will plug into my power strip as well as the fan and the light. So when this gets to temperature, it shuts off, turning off the heat tape. And then when it gets too cold, it kicks back on, allowing power to go to the heat tape and heat the incubator again. So, alright, so let's get into this build. I guess the first thing I should do is heat tape. I'm going to measure the length of it, and basically all I'm going to do is take 21 inch. I did say it was 21 inches. Barely fits on the film of this, or the screen, the camera. I'm about 4 foot away from it to get it on there. So this is pretty much exactly the width of the inside of this. I have about a ½ inch on either side, so I can tape it in. I could have gone with less, but this is such a big enclosure to make an incubator. I didn't want to have to run a strip down the back and a strip down each side in order to keep the temperature up, which I probably would have had to do if I bought like the 12 inch. At least a strip down each side to be pretty close to equivalent to this 21 inch. This is 120 volt, 30 watt per foot is what it says on it. I ordered this from Reptile Basic. It's pretty much where I get all my heat tape. I'm sure you guys, if you're watching my channel, you've probably watched Dark Science channel. He was doing a giveaway of this stuff. Well, not this stuff. A gift card for Reptile Basics. And I was really hoping to win that, because that would have definitely made this purchase a lot cheaper. It was about 40 bucks for 8 foot of 21 inch heat tape. So not cheap. But to build this incubator, it will be a lot cheaper than to buy one. The purchase of the incubator itself as a wine chiller, as a non-working wine chiller, wasn't too bad of a price. I think I paid 40 bucks for it, something like that. I don't even remember, it was a while ago. And then the heat tape, another 40 bucks, so there's 80 bucks into this incubator. And then the fan, I just bought a decent size one because I have such a large incubator. I didn't want to go with too small of a fan. I'd rather go too big and just have to have it on low than too small and have to buy more. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a little tape on the top of this heat tape. I don't know why they call it heat tape, because it's not really tape. It comes in a roll like tape, but it is not sticky like tape. So we'll unroll it. I bought 8 foot of it, so hopefully this will go from the top through the bottom and into the front. Basically all I'm going to do is stick it up here with this tape for now, just so I can get my measurements and cut it. So that is all the way to the top. It's taped in. We'll see if it holds. It's kind of heavy. So you can see that aluminum tape is pretty good stuff. That's what I use for taping this up against my snake rack, and now it'll be used on this guy. To be honest with you, I'm only about 6 inches too long, so I did a pretty good job in getting the right amount. So we'll make a mark to where this needs to be cut. I'll take it back out and show you how to cut it. If you cut it incorrectly, you can damage it. So let's get to that step. Grab my scissors. So we're going to go just a little bit on the inside because this door seal, I don't want it touching the heat tape. I don't want it rubbing anywhere. And I have it snug up against the top. It won't be that far up there, so I should probably cut it a little farther in than that even. So we're going to cut it at the 7-foot mark, which will give me a foot of this, just so I have an even amount. I don't have to mark it and then come back to you and show you how to cut it. I'll actually just go straight into everything with you. Let's pull this back out. Like so. I'm going to pull this aluminum tape off of here. It rips pretty easy on a straight edge. Like, that's all I did in there was I literally just ripped it off. And it's pretty strong adhesive tape. It doesn't look like it would be. It doesn't feel like it would be. But this heat tape weighs probably, I'm going to guess 4 or 5 pounds. And it held it up with a little strip. So when you get this heat tape, they do marks on them, like this mark right here. It's a little dot. That's every foot. So if I go from there to there, that is literally 1 foot. And when you buy it, you have to purchase it by the foot. Not too big of a deal. Now if you cut one of these black lines, you can mess it up. You'll definitely mess it up from where the black line's cut and beyond, because that's where it heats. So you want to cut the white strip or the transparent strip in between the 2 black lines. That's why the dot lines up with that line. So we'll cut there all the way across. It's got the dot on both sides. You can see one right there and one up here. So one there, one there. So we're going to cut that off. The nice thing is this being 21 inches wide, and me having a little extra, the reason I'm going about 6 inches less use in the incubator gives me 6 inches more on my extra, allowing me to use in my hatchling racks. So once my hatchlings hatch out of the eggs, they'll go into a rack of their own, and with that I can use this strip. If I cut it in half again, that gives me 6 inches. I don't need 6 inches on a hatchling rack because the tubs are so small. So I'll go in about 3 inches and do a cut, and then 3 inches, 3 inches. So I'll get 4 strips out of this. With that, this one strip will heat 3 to 4 tubs, depending on how wide of the tub I use at the time. Some of my tubs are a little wider than others, so it'll definitely work for 3 hatchling tubs. So I can build a rack, or I can put this on my rack for my hatchlings, and that'll give me 4 heat pads for hatchlings. So rather than only having a 6-inch strip and giving me 2, I'm not going to use this whole thing because it's going to drop down from the inside in there a little bit. So I give myself 6 inches from the very top. My wires have to go through the top. The one thing I really like about this more than like using a refrigerator or a mini fridge or a mini wine chiller, all those have the condensers on the outside or underneath, and you have to find holes or drill holes to get your wires to go through. This has that hole from where the condenser was on the inside, and I just fill that hole and leave for my wires. Some people would rather put holes in. I don't like doing that. Basically, when you're using this stuff, this copper line is your hot, so your electricity is going to go through this on both sides, and that's what allows these black strips to heat up. Now, there's a back sheet and a front sheet where these meet. It's pretty much glued together on the very edge and all through here, but where this copper strip is, it's actually not glued together, so you can stick something inside there. Most people will take a hole punch the holes and use bolts. You can see, hopefully I can get it on the video, this sliding inside in between the two. So what I do is I will open this up, and instead of hole punching top and bottom and running my wire through the top and bottom, I literally take my hole punch, stick it in, and punch a hole right there where the copper is. And then when I'm done punching the hole where the copper is, it allows me to run my wire through and make it so the wire is constantly touching the copper. It's not coming out the backside, so I don't have to be as concerned when this is up against my snake rack or up against the back of this. If that wire touches, that's live wire touching that whole thing, which now makes that live. So I do everything I can to prevent from having situations where I can electrocute myself. I prefer to do it this way. The wires will be nowhere near touching the racks or my incubator in this case. It just makes it, for me, I feel more safe this way. So there's my hole. I'll do the other side. Sometimes it's a little tough to get stuff in here. I've learned if you pinch it like this, it pops it open in a spot where you can get stuff down in there. Razor blade, pocket knife, whatever you need. And I like to break the glue loose on the edge side. You can see, maybe you can see me pushing over on the edge here. You'll see this way. So now you can see the small tongs pushing out just past the copper there. Because putting the hole punchers in between, it will pop this side if you don't pre-pop. Well, it'll pop one of the sides. Typically it'll pop the side you don't want it to. And that's the way it works, just because you don't want it to do that, so that's what it's going to do. So now I'll put my hole puncher in there, just like so. Alright, so there's the hole. It only goes through one side. This is the way I do it. Other people do it to where it goes through both sides. And I'm not going to bash them for that. I actually tried it that way before as well. It does work. But I feel more safe this way. Alright, let me get my wire. So here's the wire. Basically, what I do is I'll take my wire and go in between. Well, typically, normally I'll have a wire clamp on here. It's just a short little one, and then this will go in like so.